So, how is everybody? Good, good. I want to do a bit of a reality check on where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going with the class, and then I'll dive into the lecture for today. So, first week we talked about overview of the class in general and overview of small business management. Second week we talked about your LinkedIn profiles and your professional development plans, which I'm in the middle of doing my markups on for you right now. I'll get back to you about those soon. Then we talked about product service development and did kind of a kickoff of your who's going to be on what project team. Then 2 weeks ago we worked on web development. Last week we worked on customer acquisition. This week we're going to talk about competitive research and industry research. Next week we'll talk about HR planning and a bunch of sort of back office functions of small business management. Then accounting and financial analysis, and then capital and resource acquisition. That will kind of conclude the tool sets that I want. And then the lecture after that, right before Cesar Chavez holiday, is going to be on pitching your business and sort of getting back to the big picture again. So, scrolling down to the rubric for your implementation project, I've been a little bit lax in my enforcement of this so far. So, I want to get back to being a little more rigorous with this. You all have projects at this point, so you've fulfilled point number one. The weekly contact with the project client and copying me on the documentation, we haven't really done yet. Going forward, I want an update email from each team each week. Yes?
What day do you want it at the very end, like on Friday evening or Sunday or?
Send me the email. Yes, send me the email by the end of the day on Friday. So each week going forward, I'd like you to send me an update email on your project by the end of the day on Friday, telling me where things are at. All of you at this point should be close to completing your websites and should have a list of target customers that you're going to reach out to and interview with the customer vignette template. Okay? So we'll check in on that a little bit again on Wednesday when we do our in-class exercise. But just want to remind everybody that I need update emails from you weekly starting this week. Send those by Friday. I need your websites to be done this week. At least version A of the website. You can keep working on the website through the rest of the semester, but I need a working website by the end of this week. And I need for you to have your list of target customers that you're going to talk to. I also need for you to complete that poster that I sent you the template for, so that I can get those in to printing before the honoring deadline for this class, which is later in March. So just a reminder to everybody of what we need to be getting done with the projects. Okay, that being said, I'm going to go to today's lectures. There's two of them on competitive research and industry research. Omar, how's it going?
It's going good.
So for competitor research, I want you to put together a competitor profile, which is in some ways similar to the customer vignette, similar in format, different in the information that you have in there. So when you're determining who your competitors are, I want you to think about whether they vary by segment and whether your competitors may be substitute products rather than direct competitors. What do you need to know about your competitors? I want you to know the specific products and services they offer, general image and impressions of those products and services. What are the features and benefits? What promotions are they offering? What pricing do they offer? And what advertising media are they advertising in? Similar to the customer vignette. I also want you to identify major strengths and weaknesses. So a lot of times your competitors are going to have an existing customer base, financial resources, and perhaps product or service niches that they're very strong in. So those are going to be potential strength areas for your competitors. Finally, in your competitor profile, I want you to tell me how you plan to differentiate your company from that competitor. So all of that will look something like this. This is a this is a profile that some of my students back in Cincinnati did a couple years ago on a competitor for a real estate management venture. So you're going to have the name of the competitor up at the top, the customer segment that they are focused on, the product or service that they're focused on, and then give me your impressions of the general image that product or service product or service and that competitor has. Tell me about the features and benefits of the product. Tell me about their pricing, advertising media, the major strengths that they have, the major weaknesses they have, what their target differentiation focus is, how do they differentiate themselves, and then how do you plan to differentiate yourself from them. So this is the format that I want you to use for your competitor profile, and you're going to do 3 of these when you're going to do 3 of these for your project in this class.
So, is there,
Yes.
with our turning in the whole project, all of our separate parts are going to be in that one end trend, right? So the vignette, the competitor profiles are going to be all together trending, right?
Yes. Although the more you get drafts done and show me them, the more input I can give you and the better grade you're going to get. Make sense? Okay. So finding information about competitors. Merchant Online and ProQuest are both useful for this. LexisNexis, LexisNexis and Orbis and Reference USA are 3 other databases that are really good for this that unfortunately our library has discontinued service to or does not have service to begin with. Social media is a great place to find information on competitors. Google is a great place as well, and I've listed some links here with search tips on how to do Google searches more effectively. We'll talk about that more next week as well. ProQuest is a good source for competitor information. Chambers of Commerce and industry associations that you can find the website for online are also good. And just asking around, asking other people in the industry, asking potential customers. You can find out a lot about competitors just by asking around as well. And kind of like with your networking or with your marketing outreach, record everything you can. There's no piece of information that's too small, especially when you're trying to profile very small niche competitors where it's hard to find information on them. Um, market positioning maps are the second part of this. The thing about a market positioning map is that it needs to have differentiable, non-obvious XY axes. So that means that the axes on the map, so let me grab a marker here. A market positioning map is just a graph that looks like this with two different axes. Whatever you put on this axis and whatever you put on this axis need to be able to show differences in the two companies that you're profiling. So your company and the three competitors that you're talking about, it needs to be able to show differences between them. So some common XY axis criteria are price and quality on the same axis, not on different axes. If you have price on one axis and quality on the other axis, what do you think happens? Huh? Yes. As price goes up, quality goes up. So it's an obvious relationship that always is going to be the same. It doesn't tell me anything I didn't already know. So that's no good as separate axes. A better set of axes would be price and quality here, and something like product selection here. Or distribution network, resource bases, business model, or anything else that makes you sort of sit back and say, that's interesting. Anything that's going to differentiate your company from its main competitors. This is an example of a market positioning map that that same team from back in Cincinnati did a couple years ago, looking at breadth of services on one axis and types of properties on the other. Impact was the name of their company. And Everest is that competitor that they profiled, and here's some other competitors that they looked at as well, and how they fit on those axes. And you can see that the circles are not all overlapping with each other. That's what we want. We don't want circles that are all overlapping, otherwise it doesn't tell us anything that we didn't already know. Together with the market positioning map, I also want an explanation of why you placed each company where you did on the axes. So this is an example here of explaining what impact the target company that they were working on offered in terms of breadth of services and what the others offered, and an explanation down at the bottom of why they placed the companies the way they did on the y-axis, and then the same explanation here for what the focus company offers versus what the other companies offered, and an explanation at the bottom for why they placed the companies where they did on the x-axis. That is the end of slide deck number 1 for competitive research. Let me go ahead and play a brief webinar for you guys on how to actually do this competitive research, and then we'll move on to industry research. Okay, I'd like to record an addendum to my previous webinar on competitive research. Unfortunately, Cal State has decided to cancel their LexisNexis subscription. This is news to me, so I need to explain to you guys a different resource for finding competitive information on small competitors. So instead of using LexisNexis, we're going to use ProQuest, and we're going to select a specific resource from ProQuest called Experian in order to find the information we want. So first of all, we go to the CSUB website. And we go to the library webpage. Click on Articles and Databases. And then sort all the databases by title so we can find what we want easily. Scroll down to the letter P for ProQuest. Click on ProQuest Databases. And then, just like the last time, we're going to search for a company called the Steak and Grape. So, we're just going to look for it in a different place than in LexisNexis. So, first of all, we're going to put in the word steak and grape in quotes, and then we're going to type the word and then we need a very specific phrase. We need to type in pub ID 2032612. That is the code in ProQuest for publication ID 2032612, which is the Experian database. So we type in those two search terms and click search. And you'll see here we have one result for the Steak and Grape in the Experian Commercial Risk Database. So if you click on that result, you'll find pretty much all of the same information that you can find in LexisNexis, you can also find here. So we've got the address, the phone number, the website, the name of the CEO, Steve McGowan, just like the last place we looked. We've got an approximate annual sales range, so this says it's between 1 million and 5 million, and between 20 and 49 employees. You'll notice that's the exact same employee range we got last time, and I think the specific revenue number we got last time was 2.4 million, so that's right in the ballpark of the annual sales range here. You can also find some information on any corporate linkages, bankruptcies, liens, judgments. So it looks like there's been one either lien, judgment, or UCC filing against the company. No bankruptcies filed. You've got an Experian score here. You've got the recent level of the highest credit they were extended. Got some basic information on total amount of all lines of credit and the current versus 30 and 60 days past due. So they're all current on their debt payments, and they've got about 14,000 in total trade credit outstanding right now. So useful information. Doesn't tell you everything you want to know, but just like the last search, this does tell you some basic information about small niche competitors.
So that whole webinar is just showing you how to find information on the name of a specific competitor. So the example was the Steak and Grape, which is a restaurant here in town. Whatever the name of the company is that your competitor is, just type in that phrase in quotes instead, and that pub ID number, just like the webinar said. And you can find the Experian report on that competitor, which will tell you approximately how big they are, tell you some basic information about the leadership of the company and the contact information for the company, and tell you some basic credit information on the company as well. So get you started. Yes, Omar?
Do you get the pub ID number?
Yes.
You do? Okay, where do you get that number?
Because I told you what it was.
For other companies?
The pub ID number is the same no matter what company. The pub ID number is...
That's the...
So,
Okay.
ProQuest, yes, Lise.
And so it's 2032612, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So Experian is an umbrella search engine that searches a lot of different databases. And the database that we want for competitive profiles is the Experian database. So we have to type in the ID of that publication in order to get just those results. Otherwise, we get every result possible about steak and grape, and most of them are not what we want. Make sense? So that is a short overview on competitive research. Now, let's go back to Blackboard again, and we'll pull up industry research. So, in general, in this class, I try to focus on concrete, hands-on, where the rubber meets the road skill sets. Industry research is a bit more esoteric than that, but it's really great information on the general environment that you're looking at in the small business that you're managing. The external environment of a company looks sort of like this. There's macro environment or macroeconomic conditions, such as technology change, economic conditions, changes in regulations and legislation, changes in societal values and lifestyles, and changes in population demographics that will alter the reality of a certain industry. Now, the inside of this diagram is sort of like a snapshot of a given industry at a given point in time. Any industry that you're in, whether it's agriculture, whether it's information gathering technology for the agriculture sector or for the petroleum sector, whether it's construction alarm systems, whether it's nonprofit substance use facilities or photography studios or whatever else, any industry is going to have a certain structure at a given point in time, with the power of suppliers, the power of the threat of substitute products, the threat of new entrants, the power of buyers, and the intensity of rivalry among firms. So both of these circles in total represent the profile of an industry. So the two things that I want you to do for your industry research are, first of all, to identify driving forces of change in your industry. In order to assess what driving forces are most important, you need to think about how they're going to impact the attractiveness of your industry in terms of the demand for your product and whether that increases or decreases, whether competition becomes more or less intense, and whether the industry will be higher or lower profitability-wise based on these changes. and then determine what strategy changes are needed in order to address those driving forces. Information sources for researching driving forces. First and foremost, First Research Industry Profiles is a database that I've given you a link to here. I want all of you, for the industry of your company that you're focusing on, your project you're focusing on, I want you to go in and look up the industry report for that industry in First Industry Research Profiles, or First Research Industry Profiles. Other good places to find information on driving forces are industry associations as well as Google searches, and I've given you some tips here on how to do effective Google searches. We'll talk about those more again next week as well. Porter's 5 forces are that industry snapshot that's on the inner circle of the diagram I showed you. These are basically five forces that determine the structure of an industry at any given point in time. So buyer power is the first force, and it's basically a question of how many buyers are there and how high or low are the switching costs for customers. So how easy is it to switch from one product to another, and how many buyers are there out there. Supplier power, similar questions. How many suppliers are there, and how high or low are the switching costs for companies like yours to switch between suppliers. The threat of new entrants, both what is the cost to get into a certain market, and as well as what is the bandwidth of availability of space in that market. So even if the cost is low, the market may be unattractive because there's just too many people, too many competitors in that market already. The threat of substitutes, are the same customer needs satisfied by alternate solutions, basically, is the question you want to ask yourself with substitute products. And then finally, the intensity of rivalry between firms. First and foremost, how many competitors are there? If there's more competitors, there tends to be more rivalry. However, even if there are a few competitors, if those competitors are very dedicated to competing with each other, rivalry still may be fierce, even though the number of competitors is not very high. The main place to find information on Porter's 5 forces is a database called Business Source Premier. I've given you a link to that here as well. And the same thing, industry associations and Google searches. The last thing I want to do to talk about industry research is show you another brief webinar on exactly how to navigate these two databases. So I will pull that up now. Pay attention. This is basically this is basically what you'll need to apply on Wednesday when we do the exercise
so for my next
class.
webinar, I am going to talk just a little bit about doing online searches for industry information. There's 2 main sources that I want to talk about. One is the First Research Industry Profiles database. So we go to the databases section of the library website, sort things by title, and we scroll down to the letter F for First Research. You'll notice this takes us to a page that says ProQuest at the top. ProQuest is actually an umbrella like search engine that searches dozens and dozens of different databases. So we're actually telling ProQuest just to select the First Research Industry Profiles database when we click on that First Industry Research Profiles link. So there's a couple ways to use this search. I always like to use the advanced search option. It gives us a little bit more robust options. So you'll notice here pub ID 51791, that's actually code for ProQuest to say that we're just going to look for documents that are in the publication with the ID number 51791, which is the number for first research industry profiles. So now, if we wanted to look for petroleum, for example, a common industry in Kern County here, I know from doing this before that we're going to get a lot of results. So to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to limit the search to the last 12 months of results and then click search. So that gives us all kinds of different things that have the word petroleum in them: refined petroleum pipelines, petroleum products wholesalers, petroleum refining. I'm going to choose petroleum refining here as the example. And you'll notice this opens up a PDF document. You can either view it in the viewer right here or download it and actually open it to save it to your computer. I'm going to go ahead and open it to give us a little bit more robust editing and scanning through functionality. So make this a little bit bigger. Well, maybe we'll make it 100%. There we go. So all of these profiles have the same basic structure to them. They start out with the title at the top here. They've got a little bit of summary information about First Research as a company, and then a bunch of great information about the industry in general. So if you either A, are going into this industry or working in this industry for your career, or B, are trying to start a business in this industry or trying to service customers in a certain industry, these reports give you all kinds of useful information about the general landscape of an industry that you're interested in. So you've got an overview here at the top. If we scroll down some more, it gives you kind of a growth rating, some recent things about quarterly updates, some forecasts about the future of the industry economically, some great topics here on critical issues, business challenges. These are things that I talk about including in driving forces of change research for case analysis profiles, but more broadly speaking, they're just great things to think about when you're thinking about where an industry that you're interested in is going in the future. It presents trends, opportunities, gives you some nice things here at the bottom on issues that some of the major executives that work in this industry face. Useful for conversation when you're talking with people in different positions in the industry. Also useful to prompt yourself about if you're planning a career in doing some of these functions in the future. Conversation starters, call prep questions. So if you're going to be on a call or in a meeting that has to do with petroleum, these are some good things to know how to talk about. Scrolling down, there's a bunch of great financial information for the industry at the bottom, including average financial ratios for the entire industry. You'll notice here they're actually organized by all companies, large companies, medium companies, and small companies, so you can also get an idea of how some of the ratios are different depending on the size of the company. And suggestions of industry association websites down at the bottom. Just great stuff in general. Terms that are important in the industry. This is one of the really great databases that we have at Cal State, and it has lots and lots of different industries, and each of these reports is just chock full of useful information. So I highly recommend using that. I'm going to go back to the search here, and I want to point something out. You'll notice here the NAICS code. This is North American Industrial Classification System, 324110. We could also, if you knew the code of the industry you're looking for, rather than typing petroleum, you could simply put in that code, and it will bring back the results just for, you'll notice we had 222 results before. This is just 8 results. So these are just the reports on that particular subsegment of petroleum as opposed to any industry that has the name petroleum in it. So if you know the exact NAICS code that you're looking for, you can type that in and it'll bring you to much more specific reports. There's not a report available for every single NAICS code in existence, but they do have them for a lot of them. So very good resource here. The other thing I want to point out, and this is kind of segueing on the tail end of what I was just presenting, industry associations. So if we go beyond first research and just go to do a Google search, it is amazing the information you can find on industry association websites. So, there was a list in first research that gave us a lot of suggestions, the names of petroleum industry associations. You could always also just go into Google and type in petroleum industry association, and this will list all kinds of associations that in one way or another are industry associations for petroleum. So Global Oil and Gas Industry Association, American Petroleum Institute, Oil and Gas Trade Industry Associations. This gives a list of different associations for petroleum around the world. Independent Petroleum Association of America, all kinds of organizations. Each one of these, if you go to their website, so there we go, click on that.
Congratulations.
Of course, we don't want to be the lucky visitor. We want to just see the association. So whatever you do Google search, sometimes there's crap that you have to deal with. But if you navigate around it a little bit, you'll find good stuff. So this happens to be a place where that link was basically tagged with an advertiser in some way that we had to get rid of. So, no, I do not want to change the color scheme. So you'll notice here issues and policies, meetings and events. You've got lists of upcoming meetings of the association. DC, Houston. Looks like most of these are, we got one in Georgia there, Colorado. I don't see any here in California. Yep, San Francisco. So that's not bad. But all kinds of useful stuff. These are all meetings where you could go meet people in the industry, just network in general. They've got reports, statistics, all kinds of useful information. List of cooperating associations. The websites of industry associations are tremendously rich sources of information as well. And you can see here, just on this website, this association talks about all of the other associations that have something to do with petroleum, and you'll see there's probably 3 or 4 dozen listed here. It's amazing how many nonprofit organizations there are to organize companies in different industries. And they all do a great job of providing useful information, both for networking and just for understanding industry better. So, in addition to the results that you achieve from these sort of more official and organized first research industry profiles, I highly recommend just surfing around Google and finding different associations that are associated with the industry in some way and starting to surf around their websites. Another great source of industry information. And that is it for this webinar. We'll move on next with more general best practices research.
So that's it for the webinar, and that's it for class today. I will see you guys on Wednesday. We will do an exercise basically doing searches like the ones that I just outlined on the webinar. And we'll also do updates on where your projects are at. And then I think I'm actually going to give you guys Friday off this week. Is anybody going to have a problem with that? Okay, so no class on Friday, but Wednesday we are going to be here doing an exercise on industry research, and then also just updates on your projects, okay? So have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Emma, yes.
Okay. So I'm a little confused, okay, because since I did the project last semester, but now we're adding stuff.
Yes.
So like when we do the different things, should we focus more on the new stuff, or should we like all together? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how I'm confused.
I want the homepage
Yes.
to talk about the fact that there's several different apps.
Okay.
And then there's
And
going to be a
also-
page for each.
Each separate part of it. Okay, I understand that. And then since Jessica and them are doing it also, we're totally separate from them, or can we do stuff with them separate?
No, you can do stuff together with them.
We can do stuff. So like when we turn in stuff, since I know we're in different classes, but do we need like say 2 of each thing, or can we do one all together?
No, you can do one all
Yeah.
together.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So base everything like on everything overall.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Let's say yes.
We have to create a LinkedIn page.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So create the page and just send me a contact request. Okay? Yes.
I did the website, but I'd like